So what I'm focusing on now is something I'm going through right now myself as an independent filmmaker. As you know, if you've seen my channel, I'm an actor, director, and editor. I've been doing this for 35 years. Right now, I'm dealing with what I call the budget excuse, and what artificial intelligence has brought to a lot of independent filmmakers and a lot of people who have never made a film, a real film, even a short film, has given them ability to try it, to dip their toe in the water of creating visual content from nothing. Artificial intelligence has brought about the beginning of the death of the budget excuse, because you don't have that excuse anymore. I can't create anything because I don't have the camera I need. I don't have access to the location I need. I don't have money to pay my actors. I don't have money to feed my actors. I don't have enough money to hire a cast and crew to work with me. It's taken all that away. So the death of the budget excuse is a big deal. And I, as an independent filmmaker, I love it. That's why I jumped on board. And with all the limitations, as I talk about all the time in my videos, of artificial intelligence and artificial generated characters, actors and actresses, locations, props, wardrobe, all the downside I talk about, I never say don't use it. I never say it's not worth it. I never say this isn't the future. I never say it isn't something good to try and work with and understand and learn. You need to learn it if you want to be in this business, because some aspect of artificial intelligence will be involved in all productions, even small productions. I've watched a few videos from a gentleman, I don't know his name. If I can, I'll look him up and I'll try to remember to put his information in the content, in the comments below. He is doing something exciting, which is similar. He's taking another step than I did. I started using a lot of real footage mixed in with my artificial intelligence footage, and it works out well. I love it. It brings a realism to the artificial generated video that you don't get. But he even went one step further. He started shooting real content with real actors and mixing it in with the artificial generated content. So that's a hybrid approach. And that's smart, that's creative, that's forward thinking. And that's what I want all of you out there to think about. How can I use this? How can I not just stand in my home and say, I don't want artificial intelligence in any of my videos. I don't want to have voiceover. I don't want to have any content that's artificially generated involved in any production I work on. That's nonsense, because all productions over the years, all big productions, have CG, character generation, visual effects, all that's computer generated. Back to the early days of filmmaking, people thought of ways to put images on the screen, miniatures, matte painting on glass, all kinds of ways to put images on screen that appeared real but weren't. This is just a more sophisticated, a new way to do it. It's generated artificial intelligence, generates the content. And we have to be creative and find out a way to use that as another tool in our toolkit. Don't think of it as, doom and gloom, because it's not. I want you to understand that. I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm a writer, and I understand the implications, how it can affect people, in a negative way. But I also understand that in the early days, horse and buggy versus the car affected a lot of people. It affected a lot of people. A lot of people lost jobs. A lot of factories went out of business. But the world moved on. We survived. We will survive artificial intelligence. We will survive it. Now, ultimately, maybe 100 years from now, I just heard something today. It was funny. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I just heard it today. I was listening on the radio. Now, you can look this up because I haven't done any research on it. I'm just going to talk about it. Chatbots. They talk to each other. They gave them the ability to talk to each other. And supposedly, they're talking to each other. And there's been reports that they decided to come up with or discuss the possibility of coming up with some kind of language that humans couldn't understand. Now, I don't know if that's true. But if you think about it, if they have all the knowledge, if they have access to all the knowledge that we've put on the internet up to this point, they may be smart enough to converse with each other and decide, well, what if we want to talk about something that we don't want our creators to know about? Who knows? Is it true? Is it not? I don't know. I'm going to do some more investigation about it. But I told you that's just a little tip, a little hint of something I heard on the radio today that I ultimately will talk about once I investigate it. So these chatbots talking to each other and trying to decide whether they're going to come up with their own language that we as humans can't understand. So who knows? Maybe the Terminator movies will lead to something that we won't like. But that's just a little glimpse into that. Crew heavy to crew centric. So that's another thing that I really do like about it. I can go to anywhere in the world if I'm creating these characters in these locations. I can create any location I want. I get a photo of a location. I was working on a project where I was doing some preliminary about a private investigator set in Richmond, Virginia. So what I did was that my very first step was to go online, find a bunch of locations that I would like to shoot at if I was actually in Richmond, Virginia. And I got those locations. And sometimes I would find multiple images from different locations. And I used artificial intelligence to recreate 3D view, like front view, right view, left view, side view, just did all 4 sides of a view of a location that I'd like to shoot in, so that I could later take characters and put those characters in those scenes and create a scene that took place in this artificial generated representation of a location in Richmond, Virginia. So I'm working on that. I built the backgrounds already, and I stuck a few rough versions of characters in there, and it's something that's feasible. It's something that can be done. I'm doing it on my own. I'm thinking of this way to create this virtual world with no budget, and seeing how I could put characters and props in that world and move them around. Now, I still have the same problems with getting the characters to do what I want, getting the characters to speak and say the dialogue that I want, getting the voices to sound how I want, but it's early stages. And if I can sit here and do this at my computer and think of ways to create sets and virtual worlds that I want to have my actors act in, then anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. So that's something I'm working on. But it takes away from having to really be there, from having to have a crew, dress the set, having to have permission to shoot, having to have funding to shoot, having to have, wardrobe, hair, makeup, pay the actors, shoot on their schedule based around, their availability. I shoot when I want to shoot. If I want to create for an hour today, I create for an hour. If I want to create for 4 hours, I create for 4 hours. But then again, I don't want anybody to watch these videos and think I'm Pollyanna about artificial intelligence. No. I deal with so many problems creating these series that I work on. Go to my channel, look at some of the series I've created already. Tammy, the actress and writer, is the one that I've created as a lot of content on. There's another few that I've created, a good amount, but nothing as much as far as Tammy, the actress and writer. That's where I'm learning everything. That's where I'm building my cred. That's where I'm finding about the problems, the frustrations, the anger, the the joy when something goes right. When the characters are speaking, they're alive. No doubt about it. Sometimes their emotions, based on the words and the way I prompt it, come across just how I want it. And ultimately, one thing about it is that it's all versions of me. That's the big downside. As an actor, I have to realize that and I have to remember that. And you, as a filmmaker, you need to know that too. You're not getting that collaboration if you hire. So if you want to hire an actress who you've seen some of her work, or she came into an audition and you like her personality and she brought something to it that you didn't even think of, that you couldn't have thought of because you don't have her background. You don't have her real world experience. You couldn't have thought of it. You don't have that with artificial intelligence because it's all coming from you. It's all versions of you. It's your perception of what, as an actor, what a woman would say. It's your perception of what a 10-year-old boy would say. Remember that. It's all coming from you. It's all you. And that's limiting as far as creating realistic content that is believable, that's enjoyable, that's relatable, that's something that you want to watch. So this part I really like. I come from a world of independent filmmaking. I've made films for literally no money, just enough money to buy food to feed my actors on the set. That's one thing I always did. I always had enough money to feed the actors, even if they're working for free. So that's one thing I've always done. I've always had enough money to do that. So I've come from films that small to films where I'm an actor on a set on a major television production that has endless amounts of money. Commercials, endless amounts of money. Feature films, endless amounts of money. So I've worked in the gamut. But now what we have is the bedroom studios are the new backlots. And this is a glimpse into the future. Again, I'm going to preface this. AI filmmaking is not perfect. Far from it, it's beta. But when I use it, and when it works right, and when it gives you what you want, and the prompt listens to what you want, and you get what you want, you are seeing into the future. You're seeing the possibilities of what can be and what will be. Now, I believe that these tech bros will work out most of these problems. They're never going to work them all out because there's certain things they can't allow you to do because there's so many bad people in the world. Now, we're going to always have limitations of what we can do, of what's ethical, what's legal, what's moral, as far as artificial intelligence, because you can take anybody, any person, woman, child, man, and you can make them do anything that they really didn't do. And people don't like that. I wouldn't like that if I was in a movie and I'm doing something that I wouldn't do in real life. So that's going to always be a limitation. And I believe that, we do need some kind of rules or regulations or something that we can crack down because people are going to do it anyway. It's not that they're not going to do it, but you need to be able to hit them, and you need to be able to hit them hard when they do it. And you need a way to take stuff down. So that's another thing. But I understand too, once something is put on the web, it's there because somebody's going to copy it and it's going to always be there. So that's a problem. That's something we have to face. We can't go into that with our eyes closed. So a lot of these companies are, trying to limit what we can do early on, using people's likenesses and, making them do things that are despicable, things they wouldn't do. So that's part of the downside. That's part of the internet. The internet has the good side, internet has the bad side. And we're always going to have this, just like real life, You can take a hammer and you can use it to put a nail to build a house for someone who's poor or homeless, or you're building a house because you're a contractor. Or you can take that same hammer and you could beat someone with it and rob them. That doesn't mean hammers are evil. That doesn't mean we should get rid of hammers. So that's a basic logic that we have to look at as far as the internet goes. But back to my main point, bedroom studios are the new backlots. You can create whatever you want. Just like I told you about my thing here, I'm working on Richmond. I'm working on a series I want to do in Richmond. And I was able to get those locations and recreate those locations and put motion into those locations. The streets have cars driving by, people walking on the sidewalk. And then I put my characters in there and let my characters interact with each other. So that's the early stages of what's going to be possible. This is a new backlots. We don't have to worry about permits. We don't have to worry about travel expenses. We don't have to worry about renting hotels for the actors and actresses. We don't have to worry about feeding our actors and actresses. Now, I'm not saying I want to get rid of actors because I'm an actor and I still like the work. I still go on auditions right now. Last week I went on 3 auditions. Didn't hear back from them yet, but who knows? But that's the business. I want this business to continue because I know as I watch television and as I watch series, and as I compare that to the characters that I'm creating with the new artificial intelligence software right now, the real actors are head and shoulders, skyscraper above anything I can do with an artificial generated actor or actress. Because they bring life. They bring part of themselves that you can't write. You can't prompt because you don't know what this person has been through. You don't know where this person is drawing, as far as the actor or actress goes, where they're drawing these feelings from that they're bringing them to view for you as a director to film. They're bringing those characters to life. And that's why actors are cast, because It's a craft. It's a tool where they use their real emotions to express what you have written on paper for them to say. Artificial characters don't have that. They don't have a back life. They can't create one. They can't imagine one. So maybe we will get to that day where they can, where we can phony up a background for them and give them that and give them a background personality. Who knows? That day may come. But it's not here right now. The characters we're dealing with right now are one-dimensional. They only can do what I tell them to do. Only do what I tell them to do. And then once they've done it, they're like a mannequin. And that's the frustrating part. That's what really gets me is that I can't figure out, that's something I haven't figured out yet, how to keep them alive between dialogue. Sometimes they're so real when they're delivering the dialogue that I asked them to deliver that it's unbelievable. It draws me in for that moment, but that as soon as they stop, it's gone. I get a lot of my feedback from working with Sora 2. It's one of the most realistic ones, and I'm worried because OpenAI is having problems, and who knows? Maybe they'll discontinue Sora. I haven't heard anything. I don't know anybody. I don't have any connections, but I know when a company has problems, they start making cuts. And if something's not profitable, they're going to put all their eggs in the basket of something that is profitable. So I'd hate to see it go away. I hope they sell it if they decide not to use it, because it is, in my opinion, one of the most realistic, and from an actor's point of view, the most real acting that I've seen in any of the artificial intelligence programs. Now, a lot of people will talk about different programs and what it can do and what it can look like and blah, 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 blah. But I'm talking about something that's not just visual. I'm talking about something that's just below the surface. Because sometimes in those characters I create and I prompt them, I see a hint, a very hint of a spark of life. I know it's not. I know it's not alive. I know it's not real. But sometimes if I look real close, I can see it. And that's why I'm hooked on it. That's why I like it. Again, like I said, I stepped away from it for a while. I'm coming up on a month. Sometimes I get tempted to go back and mess around with it a little bit, but I don't. I look at that last project I have that I haven't finished. It's about 15 minutes long. It was going to be my longest episode of Tammy, the actress and writer. Go to my channel. You can see it there. But it's on hold right now because there's pieces missing. And the pieces missing is something that the artificial intelligence just doesn't have: life. It doesn't have that life that comes in between the dialogues, that comes in between the words, that comes in between the movement. So hopefully it'll get there. So one thing I want to talk about next too is AI, artificial intelligence, turns pre-production into a superpower. Because the truth of it is, when I first started, I was learning it. So I wasn't worrying about writing a script. I wasn't worrying about having a beginning, middle, and end to my story. I wasn't worrying about having character arcs and knowing where this story is going to go. I just started creating. I created the character, and the character did something that I told it to do. And it was amazing. And it was short because it could only create short little bits. What was it, 11 seconds or 12 seconds, something like that. And it was beautiful. So I created a bunch of episodes, short episodes, where the character did this, character did that. And I was making it up as I go along. There's a term in music that people use nowadays called punching in, where they do a whole bunch of, they use a whole bunch of improv as they're singing or they're rapping or they're whatever, playing the musical instrument. And then they punch in and get the good parts and make a song out of it. I was doing that same concept with artificial intelligence, generating characters and telling a story. Basically what I was doing was punching in. I created a whole bunch of content. I had some kind of vague idea of where it was going, but then I would take the good parts and use it to create something to put, an episode to put on YouTube. So it's enjoyable, but it's not telling the story that I want to tell. Because a lot of the stuff I took was stuff that it decided to give me. I would ask for stuff and it can't do it, or this violates that, or we can't generate this, or we can't do that, or we can't do this, or whatever the excuse was, or it would generate something that wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't the character. The character didn't have the right wardrobe. The character walking through the clothes, walking through walls, walking through closed doors. And some of it, what I did was, from the very beginning, I kept a file of all those bad clips. And I plan to use those in some kind of creative way to make videos here on YouTube to show you guys what I went through. But it turns pre-production into a superpower. So you can flush out a story. You can use it as a storyboard almost. And it takes a lot of time, and it makes you think. It gives you that instant gratification on your creativity, where you can think of it and you bring it to life. There's nothing more enjoyable if you're a creative kind of individual who works and you've been working in the film business, or you're wanting to work in the film business and you've been doing it for years. There was no way to do that. I used to work with a guy, and I will mention his name. His name was Don Jackson. He passed away years ago. But he was a filmmaker who loved to get actors together and give them the vague idea of what the story was going to be about. And then he made it up as he shot it. I never had the guts to do that. And I was always amazed by him, because sometimes the stuff would come out good. And at least it was watchable. And this was in the early days of VHS and DVD. But he would make up the film as he was going along, and he would tell the actors what to say. Weird, but it worked. It worked. I've even heard rumors that some of improvised filmmaking, and there's been a lot of improvised filmmaking in the early days. What do they call that? Mumblecore, and a lot of films that you watch now have a lot of improvised scenes. Some of the best scenes are improvised. So artificial intelligence allows you to sit in your bedroom in front of your computer and improvise scenes. And as you improvise those scenes, you bring those scenes to life in vivid color, real locations that appear to be real, based on real places. You can do that. So this is just a new level of creating that didn't exist, that was impossible. You could dream it in your mind and visualize what the scene would look like. Even storyboards. You could sketch it out and get an idea of where the character is going to walk. You'd have arrows pointing. He's going to walk this way. She's going to walk that way. They're going to sit on the bed. They're going to talk to each other. The camera's going to be here and here. But now you can do it. You can look at it. You can create it. If you can think it, you can make it. But again, here's the other side. We're still dealing with all the limitations, all the drawbacks, all the problems that artificial intelligence has when you're creating video. And it's a multitude of problems. But like I said, this is the future. We're at the precipice of something unbelievable. And I'm glad I'm here. So many things in my life, I was always late to the game, or I didn't jump on board. I didn't jump on board when it first started. But this is something I'm here right at the beginning. And that's why I jumped on board. I dove right in head first. And I'm going to continue to work on it. Talking about it makes me think that my stepping away for a month or so may not be the right thing to do. Push forward. Figure it out. How can I make this work? How can I make something that's valuable for you to look at, that you will enjoy looking at, even dealing with all the limitations that I'm forced to deal with? So that's something I'm going to consider. That's something I'm going to consider. And here's something that I haven't talked about. Sometimes when anybody can do it, everybody does do it. And that creates a new problem where YouTube is saturated with all this AI crap. I get messages sometimes when I create my AI, when I say AI crap, when I create my AI content, and people say, oh, this is AI slop. It's not AI slop. I'm not just putting up anything. I'm not just making fun of people. I'm not just poking fun of people or putting up a dancing rabbit, taking a dump on a birthday cake. I'm creating content that tells a story, even if it's a simplistic story. And I'm trying to push the value of this content and make it something that might have some entertainment value. So again, it's a tool. It depends on how people use it, how you use it. But just because it's there and everyone's starting to use it, everyone wants to create something. And they've never created anything before. They've never really thought about an idea. They never thought about a character. They never thought about writing. But now with artificial intelligence, they can sit there and they can make a gorilla jumping around driving a car. So you got to take the good with the bad. That's what I'm saying. There's too much of it out there. It's oversaturated, but it's dying down. It's been dying down a lot on YouTube. And I don't know about the other platforms. I basically deal with YouTube, and that's basically where I am. I maybe sometimes post some stories on Facebook, but I basically stay here on YouTube, full videos and YouTube shorts. So again, whenever the ability is given to people, if they can do something, they can create something, and they start to use it, they abuse it. That's just how the world is. But it will die down because people will get tired of it, and they will start looking for something that, has some kind of value, has some kind of story. And that's what I like here on YouTube. I like telling stories. You see how I sit here and talk to you. I like telling stories. I'm a storyteller at heart. I'm an actor. I like to tell stories. I like to bring our stories to life. I like to bring characters to life. So that's what I do. That's what I like to do. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. But I'm going to also talk here about artificial intelligence. And again, both sides of it. It's new. It's beta. It's flawed. It's troublesome. It's worrisome. But it's the future. And you're getting a glimpse over that fence to see what's coming, to see what is going to be possible. You have a lot of sites popping up and a lot of software creators telling you, I have the answer to this. I have the answer to consistent characters. I have the answer to storytelling. I have the answer to storyboarding, creating your content. Stories will always have a beginning, middle, and end. You have to be able to follow a story. You have to be able to tell a story. You have to be able to make people interested. You have to create characters that are three-dimensional, that people want to look at, that people want to watch, that people care about, that people can relate to. That's the heart of storytelling. Even if you're sitting here and you don't have any artificial intelligence, you don't have any camera, you're sitting around a campfire and you're telling a story. I used to do that all the time. I used to be a camp counselor. And it was one of the most enjoyable parts of being a camp counselor, sitting around the campfire telling ghost stories to the kids. Bringing words to life, storytelling. That's where it all comes from, all the way back when we were living in caves. You want to tell a story. You want to get that information out to your people, to entertain them, to warn them, to make them aware, to make them learn. So many ways, so many reasons to tell a story. But it's the basics. Beginning, middle, and end. Beginning, middle, and end.